So you got a ripped seat cover. Got this. You don't need to buy a whole new seat. Save yourself some money. This is a very easy thing to do if you just do it in certain steps. I'm going to take you through the whole process of removing your old ripped up seat cover, and then we'll go step by step on how to install the new grippy seat cover. So what you're going to need to do is take this off. For that you just need a small flat screwdriver, and I like to have an assortment of pliers. Always start from the front and the back. This logo isn't like dangling off the back. And you want to make sure that it is center on both the front and the back. Flip it over, you can double check that. You can see right here, okay, it's a little off. Just center it. Just take a second to make sure everything lines up the way you want it to. Then I'm gonna start on the back here, pull it pretty snug, and I'm gonna go right dead center on the back. I'm not doing the full back yet. I'm just doing the dead center of the back. I'm not pushing it flat and pulling it snug, but I'm gonna pull it relatively snug so that it's taut. You want it to be nice and tight. You'll notice here that I have a groove that something has to go into to hold the seat on, so I don't want to staple up here. I'm stapling along the edge. So now we have it laid out. Now the reason I know how to do this is that this is actually the same general process as putting a painting on a canvas, and I went to school for art. So this is essentially the same exact thing that I went to school for. So I'm pulling it up here just to make sure that it doesn't get tugged out of center here. And then you can check, is it centered? Yeah, okay. So we're gonna pull it a little bit tighter then. And notice how I'm going to the middle of the side as well, just like I did the middle of the front and back. And now I'm gonna start giving it a little bit of tug, tighten it up. So right now we have 4 points. Middle of the front, middle of the back, middle of the left side, middle of the right side. And how you do a canvas is you work your way to the other side. This does not have to be super hard pulls. And because the shape is so long, I'm gonna spend more time working my way this way than I'm on the edges. So again, just pull it snug. If you notice, I'm not worried about the excess at this point. Reason is it's helpful still, so we can use it to grab onto. And I'm out of staples.
Okay, so I didn't talk about this while I was doing it, which is a shame because it's actually the most complicated part of doing this. The corners. This seat cover was actually a little harder than normal because it has a crease in it, and that crease adds thickness. So basically you want to fold it over to where it doesn't show, just to keep it look pretty. And then you have to staple it down all the while keeping it tight. The crease definitely adds thickness, and here I do realize that having a more heavy-duty stapler with longer staples would have come in handy. I've never thought about that because typically I use I don't use creased seat covers, so this is my first time doing it. But it does it works, and you just gotta try and replicate the same fold 4 times. So whatever you do to get it done right once, try and do that again. It helps to try and not just fold it over 90 degrees, but try and fold it under itself to like a 45-degree angle so that it's like pointing towards the middle of the seat. It just looks better. It's not anything to do with performance or longevity. You can see me here cutting out a little bit. That's just so that I can gain some room because the staples are a wee bit short, and I need to have just a little bit less thickness for the staples. Again, I just inexperience here. I'm used to not having a crease, so the crease added a lot of thickness. Also, when it comes to corners, just have patience. If it looks terrible and you don't like it, just take the staples out, try again. Try a bunch of different things. As long as you're not ripping it and like pulling super hard and tearing it, you're good. And you really should never at any point be pulling so hard on the fabric that it rips. So just try a bunch of different things. You'll find something that works for you. What works for one person might not work for another. And what works for one seat cover might not work for another seat cover, which is what I experienced here. I had to kind of improvise, and it worked out. You know you're getting near the end when you get the scissors and the razor out. Basically, you're just trimming off all the excess. Everything is stapled down. It is good to go. Anything that is just flopping and dangling, just get rid of it and you're good to go. That should be everything you need. Maybe a few extra staples here and there.
Hopefully this helps you save some money. A couple of things that I wish I would have done differently. You can see it does have some wrinkles. The reason for that is when I did this and this, the very first step, I didn't squish it enough like this so that when it rebounded, it wasn't quite taut enough. It's not really a big, huge issue. It's more of an aesthetics thing that bothers me. Another thing that I wish I would have done is just gone ahead and invested in a slightly more heavy-duty staple gun. Really? And also, I would recommend using shorter staples whenever there's one layer of seat cover and longer staples when on the corners where you have to fold it. This worked out and I think it's going to hold for a long time, but definitely having a heavy duty staple gun and long staples for those multiple seat cover layers on the corners would have been really nice. Another reason why it's really important to be able to do this and to do this yourself is if you're shorter than the average rider, you can come through with a turkey knife and just cut that down and then sand it with some 36 grit sandpaper. Now you have a shorter seat and maybe you'll be able to touch the ground a little bit better, build some confidence. On the opposite end of that, if you're a taller rider, you can install more foam to make it so that when you go from standing to sitting, it's less of a transition. This is really a to you tailored project. I personally was okay with the stock seat height, but I do like the grippy seat cover, which this bike did not come with. So this is the third seat cover that I've had, and every one that I've been through has been a sticky one. This one has those extra ribs. I'm thinking that'll help a little bit more. Maybe this rib will help. I'm not really sure. We'll see. But yeah, it's just something you can do in your garage with tools that you probably should have. A staple gun is pretty standard stuff. Use it around the house all the time. Pliers, you need pliers. So really that was it. And then some scissors and a razor. Alright, that's about it. If you have any questions, any at all, please go ahead, feel free to drop the question. I'm always in the comments, you know that, and I will do my best to answer them. I'm going to do my best to document all the work that I do on my bike. The bike now has over 400 hours on it, so there's a lot of work that just goes into keeping it running. And I do understand that a lot of people have bikes that require a lot of maintenance like this one. So I think that it's going to be a good way to kind of like connect and show you guys how it's done. But that's going to be it for this video. I really hope that you enjoyed. I hope that this was helpful to you, and I'll see you in the next one.